Hi, Ed. Your microphone's mute.
It should be okay now, right?
Yeah.
Hold on a second. I've just been flummoxed trying to get into the Stammer account. Let me relax a little. Yeah, lozenge would be good. My mouth is so dry that my teeth are sticking to my cheeks, which makes it very difficult to do anything except talk like Donald Duck. This is a medicated lozenge. Prima, I got a thing here. You can all hear me, right? My mouth is dry, so dry that the cheeks are sticking on my teeth. So I now have a lozenge to try to wet my cheeks so my teeth are freed. I know this is too much to contemplate. How do I even wake up in the morning? You're probably wondering. To begin with, does anybody have any questions or want to make a comment? Let's start that way. I don't think I've ever started a satsang this way. But many of you must have some questions about spirituality, like what is enlightenment? Who cares? What's the meaning of life? Who cares? I can answer a lot of questions that way. Who cares? Come on, somebody ask a question. Mark, ask a question. You always ask smart questions.
How's your health, Edgy?
Pretty good.
You're on the mend?
Oh, yeah.
Good to hear. So when you say who's asking or who cares, it's like really like with these kind of questions, what is the reality of the one who wants to know? That's what all this stuff boils down to.
I have no idea what that sentence means.
Okay,
The
well,
one you just used.
the one who wants to know what the meaning of life is, for example, right? So like Robert would say, well, whom wants to know? Who is the one? What is the reality of the one who wants to know? Have you investigated that? Because it all comes down to self-inquiry for Robert.
Was there a question there?
No, it was a statement based
Okay.
on what you said, but I'm just trying to get the ball rolling here by
Well,
saying something. But the other thing I want to say is there's no secrets in this practice. Everything is self-evident, or should be. And if it
I've not.
isn't, if it isn't, then one needs to look at the reasons why. That's what I say. It may sound blunt and kind of uncaring, but I mean that's the reality of it as far as I can see.
Thank you. I have no idea what you're talking about, but we'll move on from there. Is anybody else got something to say? Look, I've been doing this for over 50 years. I've probably experienced every possible thing that one can do arising from meditation. But over the years, my meditation states have changed. And now when I sit to meditate, I can enter a deep meditation in a minute, 2 minutes. And it's the physiological, psychological, physiological consequence of practicing meditation. So I'm in the state now, just on the entry of it. I'm looking inside my body. There's the usual darkness that everybody sees. But I can actually see the seer right now. The seer doesn't go away. There's no dichotomy because in my meditative state, there are no sets of opposites, like happy or unhappy, fast or slow, enlightened or non-enlightened. All those are born of mind. But looking deep into my physical sense of being, what I am hit with is kind of an overwhelming joy that arises out of my body having this tremendous pent-up energy. And I sink into that energy and stay there doing nothing. But this is a class, and I could sit here doing nothing, but I'm sure you find that to be a waste of time. So I have to think of something as close to truth as can be said by anyone. And make up something that sounds credible, that will motivate you to practice meditation. Right now, my body, I feel tremendous energy, centered mostly in my gut, maybe extending up to my heart. And this energy I feel, it's like I would call it a life force or something similar to a life force. And At first, it feels like a buzz, or sounds like a buzz, or feels like a buzz. But it's hard to use words here today to describe these meditative states. But my whole body now is bursting with energy. And this brings, although it's a little attenuated right now, a great sense of peace, but also the closeness of an ability to jump in and start doing things in the world. My body feels like there's 100,000 little bees inside that are kissing every part of my body from the inside. And it's impelling me to focus my attention on the bliss of my body. So when I start talking, I have to share my attention with the bliss in my body and the situation of being in front of a class, trying to talk about the bliss in my body. And usually I don't talk about my actual experience. I do that once in a while, but I talk about the theoretical stuff. What's meditation about? What's enlightenment about? And things like that. But when I'm silent, the reason I'm silent is every particle of me that is available to being felt wants nothing more than to continue in meditation and deepen it. The power of this state over my psyche is complete. This power is everything. And you have it too, right now. But all you have to do is find it within your body. And that's hard to do until you're more advanced in meditation. Because meditation allows you to feel all body states associated with all different kinds of dimensions of perception within us. It's an incredibly intense experience. To be exploding with energy. And yet, without any particular service it could be put to the use of. Now I can talk, but that's in concepts. But I can't convey directly to you that bliss unless some of you are catching it. I don't know. I don't know if any kind of process like that is taking place where mind being buried and sucked into the netherworld of energies. Is it all conveyable to you through my speech or just being here looking at you? What do you think, Mike? Mark, what do you think?
Yeah, Angie, I agree with what you've said. And part of the reason why I don't describe what you do is because it doesn't occur to me to do it in the way that you do. But I agree 100% with what you're saying, especially the part where it has a hold over my life, and I keep a look for ways to abide in it and deepen it, or it finds a way to do it on its own, and I don't get in the way of it, is a more accurate way of putting it. However, I have a question from another member of our Sangha whose mic is broken and who's put a question in the chat. May I ask you this question posed by another
Yes.
person? Okay, so I'm not quite sure I understand the question, but I'll read it. Once you become enlightened, is anything classified or forbidden from sharing with the unenlightened? It seems that some answers are never, ever given in public. Thanks.
Can you read that over again?
Yeah.
Who sent it?
Ari sent it.
Who?
Ari, his mic is broken. He's smiling in his picture, so he's a very, he's exuding good energy. But
Okay. Too bad that his mic is broken. I could ask him directly.
yeah, but yeah, and Ari, if you have a way of rephrasing it, please do. But I'll read it again. Once you become enlightened, is anything classified or forbidden from sharing with the unenlightened?
No. There's nothing in the enlightened state really. It's quite complex. There's nothing in the enlightened state that would prevent you from expressing anything, whether it's about enlightenment or about the pre-enlightenment state of humanity. But what I try to do a lot is to burrow deeper into that new state, the enlightenment state, you might call it, and let it, by burning, touch you, each of you. I don't know if that happens or not. I get kind of different answers at different times. But right now, I'd like to try an experiment, which is for me to go into kind of white heat of this body. When I'm in the middle of feeling the bliss of existence, almost everything else is crowded out of my mind because the bliss is so blissful. It's overwhelming. It overwhelms the will. But at least I can do a little bit and tinkle with it a bit to get something said. Right now, I'm happy, supremely happy. My body is semi-rigid now. And that varies depending upon the state of concentration that I'm at. If I go much lower, I'll be unable to talk to you at all. So I'm talking to you from the edge state. In the edge state, the bliss is very, very strong. And feeling that bliss makes me want to stop talking and just sink into the bliss and be carried away. But I got a job. So I have to tell you something about the state to make you think maybe it's something you would want. Now, right now, every one of you may have some idea why you're here, or satsang. But for me, there's no reason. I enjoy doing it. And I can feel as if I'm using my joy and my energy to contact your spirit at a very deep level and to fire it up with the beginning feeling of spiritual bliss. I don't know whether anybody feels it, or they feel at least like you're entering a different state from normal consciousness, which would indicate some movement taking place. Now, is anybody now experiencing increased or incredibly increased joy? Okay. You didn't hold your hands up, so I can't count that high without. No, it's all right. So maybe 5 or 6 of you said you're feeling joy. How many are feeling a buzzy feeling throughout your whole body? And that's where the joy comes from, because it's like having a physical reaction to the bliss that one feels by going deeper into one's own selfhood. You asked that question, Mark. Ask it your way, just to see if it's any different. Now, watch how you're going to feel when Mark starts saying the same thing.
All I can talk about is what I feel. Is that okay? Because I'm not sure. Yeah.
Yes.
What I feel is like an inner sun, an inner sun broadcasting blissful energy throughout my system. It's what it feels like right now. It's really the same thing I always feel, but it's somewhat increased from usual. And the buzzy feeling, I definitely feel it. But these are not things that these are things that I'm familiar with that occur frequently or all the time to some extent at this point. But yeah, and you said that not much is going on in your mind. I think in order to feel it, one has to let go of everything else, or it seems to displace everything else because it's so joyful and it's so pervasive. Like it occupies center stage because it's higher quality than anything else.
Yeah. It's blasting you out of your shoes, so to speak. And you don't have something else more powerful than that going on when you're in good meditation.
I also want to say that at some point in my practice, I got the sensation of awareness resting in awareness. It's actually not an abstract thing. It's actually something that kind of feels like a sensation or a combination of sensations. It's hard to explain, but I do get the feeling like awareness is resting in awareness, and it's kind of just abiding in itself, and it strengthens itself the way like someone working a muscle strengthens just by abiding in it, not having awareness go out to other thoughts or objects or anything. And at some point, it became continuous. At some point, the knack of it becoming continuous happened after years of going back and forth. So if that's helpful to anyone, I'll just put it out there.
You see, there's stuff I don't know. And one of the things I don't know is the effect I'm having on the world when I'm in a meditative state. Now, classically, around the guru, you're supposed to feel uplifted, as they say in Siddha Yoga. But that's kind of an elevated, normal state, I think, is what they mean. But this is not normal. This does not belong to this world. This is my whole body vibrating in such a way that it causes great joy throughout my whole physical body, which is attached to me as a conscious entity. So on one level, I'm the physical body. Another level, I'm the mind. And this third state is kind of the ultimate state because it contains all the others. And you can only pick apart various aspects of enlightenment or non-enlightenment. And it just becomes an idea then, which is of decreasing value from the actual experience. So a lot of teachers will talk about the enlightened state and usually not say what the enlightened state is. But they will talk about it and from it. But for me, the one thing I want to get across more than anything else is the depth and exquisiteness of the energies one feels after you become an accomplished meditator. But this state brings absolutely no knowledge whatsoever because it doesn't allow thinking to interfere. Instead, there's a constant, continuous reaction between the body, the mind, and the enlightened state of total bliss. And my attempts to try to figure it out and put it into words has endlessly failed. And instead, I give up and I'm able to slip deeper into my own existence. You know, people 50 years old that have a couple college degrees and good job, they never look inside themselves because they're so focused on the outside. For them, the inside doesn't even exist. But if you start by closing your eyes and shifting your attention downwards into your body, you begin the process that will end with enlightenment. And part of the enlightenment state is the ability to go to great depths within one's own consciousness. There's not only the state we think we are in as a human being when we're not meditating, but there are various states one passes through when you're practicing meditation. And after a while, there's absolutely nothing left of the ordinary state. There's nothing there anymore. No names, no experience, and no words can be said about it because it's prior to words, the experience. Right now, my whole body is trembling in a very subtle way. And I'm wondering, does this have any effect on any of you? In the sense that it feels different for you to be in satsang than not in satsang. So what I want to do is to give you both enlightenment, but also access to this buzzing energy experience that stops the mind completely and serves as an entrance to enlightenment or to the deepest meditations. The state, my body feels both rigid and soft at the same time. And when I move, like just now, I do so against a kind of energy in me that's trying to have me still and not moving. So every time I move when I'm in meditation, it takes energy because it's hard to do against that settling in energy that leads to enlightenment. Now you will find by meditating, you will be able to attain the beginnings of that state relatively rapidly. And maybe most of you have it already. But one thing is seeing yourself as separate from the body. No longer do I feel I'm the body. I'm witnessing the body as a very intense internal experience. Internal in the sense it's happening to me alone. And it involves my body and the full breadth and depth of my body. It's three-dimensional. The fourth dimension is the talking I'm doing. And the talking, of course, interferes with that state. So that's one of the reasons teachers don't talk much about that state, because they lose it by talking about it. But I'm hanging on to that state while I'm talking to you about it. And this state isn't the final state anyway. It's kind of like a practice of finding bliss that becomes so incredibly intense that you can't do anything anymore. And that's the state, for example, that Ramana Maharshi was in for all those years in the temple, at the temples where he was staying. He would sit and not move, not eat food, pee in his loincloth, so to speak. He didn't move, he was motionless. But because of that, there was one person in the room who was always perfectly blissful. And he was trying to get others to catch it. Now they caught it was by themselves to become very quiet and turn their attention inwards into their gut and chest. Because at that point, they start feeling the energy, the same energy that I've been feeling for some time. Now, the energy is so intense that it really prevents a meditator from letting go of the bliss and to pass to the next state of life without mind. And what that's like. The bliss is a transitional state. It's probably put there that way by whoever dreamed this up in order to get people to shoot for the bliss state. And then by being in that bliss state to know that there's something beyond, because every now and then they'll have a beyond experience. And then even the beyond experience becomes more credible. And what's part of that beyond experience is seeing not only my physical body, but an inner body that's not just energy, but also epitomizes the life force. And it's visually, it's just light. It's a being of light within me. But life is a bad word because it has all kinds of connotations about what light does. But I like the term because it seems to fit in some strange way. Anyway. I feel my physical body, but I also feel deeper, a sensual body that doesn't appear to be tied to a physical body at all. And when you experience it, it's nothing but bliss. So maybe it should be called the bliss body. But there are bodies, it's the experiences of looking at it is of light. I have a body made of light inside of me that I could only see by being that body or being a highly trained meditator who can recognize the marks of that in somebody else. Now, just that bliss body itself is worth all the effort one will do in meditation, in reading spiritual books and attending lectures. Just that state of the light body being activated and seeing them as separate from your physical body and separate even from yourself who's watching this whole soul. So it gets complicated, but it's also no complications. The complications are in expressing it and trying to express it as ideas of substance. But if you don't try to express it and just try to enjoy it, you don't even have to try to enjoy it. The enjoyment will be automatic, and it becomes deeper the deeper your mind can shut up. Because when you feel the bliss, you don't want to think, you don't want to talk. And it's sort of entering you into the ultimate states beyond the body. And since I'm seeing my inner body as separate and as light, I know that there are other bodies, but they're not as easy to talk about as the light body is. And the light body isn't that easy to talk about. But suffice it to say that once you shut the fuck up, not only external talking, but internal talking, and even internal exploration. But once that stops, the bliss begins. And learning how to talk and think while feeling the bliss is kind of hard, so I won't do it much. But to get beyond that, these states have no description after that. The light body at least is describable, and you can feel it inside as that bliss state. But beyond that, there's not much that can be said. One of the things that you do know, I have felt from it, is a sense of great peace. That everything is all right as it is, no matter how terrible it seems in the world. There's kind of steadiness that comes from it. It's a sense of power because I can feel my ability to think, my ability to feel my own body, as well as the energy body, the light body. Just by this alone, you've excluded yourself from the human race, really. Most of the people that would hear what I'm talking about would say, he's fucking mad. But once you've been bitten by the ecstasy of feeling the light body, you're done for. You'll be a meditator the rest of your life. And you'll know that there's something even beyond the light body. It's deeper. It's not visible. I can't even express it as to what part of my light body survives transition to a deeper level. Because there's nothing in that deeper level. You relax into nothingness. That's why the state of nothingness has such power over people. Intellectually, at first, when you read about Zen, and the pre-enlightenment state. In the enlightened state, there's nothing. Just incredible peace. And in that peace, there's no understanding whatsoever. Nothing that can be explained by mind, no matter how good you are at talking. The will to talk ends. And therefore satsang ends, but we don't want that right now. After going through the blissful state, you enter true meditation. You become very still. The mind stops. And for a while, you feel like a giant mountain or iceberg that can't move, doesn't want to move. You sit there with no understanding. You can't even know whether you're inside or outside of your body. You know nothing. And that's why Robert liked the name Good for Nothing Man the most, because he did nothing. And yet everything happened around him. And that's the secret. When you reach a certain level of development, you become a broadcaster of that state, or at least I think you can. And maybe it's not always on the conscious level. You're not aware of this energy in me that's making an energy in you. It's just that the energy in you can rise to the top more easily in satsang than elsewhere. As somebody said, to Horatio, Horatio, there are more things in heaven and earth than are dreamt of in all your books and philosophies. What happens in enlightenment is to go beyond all of it, go beyond even consciousness. And people think that consciousness is everything, but it's not so. Somebody's got something chirping. Who's chirping? Is it my phone? Oh yeah, it's the phone. Yeah. Every time that it's buzzed, the phone goes off. Reema's trying to experiment. Lift it up, see what happens. It stops. Good. Don't put it back. look at that, what we were able to do. We were able to stop the tick, tick, tick by being aware. I'd take a bow, but I can't from this position. All right. Does anybody have any questions now? I threw out a lot of material that demands thinking rather than just doing nothing. Tom, do you have any questions or comments?
Thank you. That was a beautiful experience.
You had one.
Yes.
Can you describe it, what it's like?
Oh.
Yes, it's like that, right?
It's like you said, I don't want to leave it enough to talk about.
Yes. Okay. I won't bother you anymore.
I do have a practical question.
Yeah.
I wonder about studying Hindi as a way to better understand the things that we do by, and better understand the chanting that we do as well. And if so, do you know of a way to do that you've
I don't understand what your question is. Try it again.
I'm considering whether to study Hindi to better understand what we're studying here.
No. No. Instead, study yourself. Study yourself from the inside, not using words, but just by sitting and sitting doing nothing. This goes against everything in us as Western people to be searching for truth or searching for something or other, the infinite in us. There's always a drive somewhere in us to do something, either with our minds or whatever. But what you have to do is totally stop anything, including the bliss state. Let it go by, let it pass. And you go deeper. When you go deeper, there's no more talking. There's nothing there that you could talk to people about afterwards that they would understand. You may have your own words for your state, different parts of your state, but you can't express that and they can't get it unless there's an automatic unconscious process happening now where there's a linking of us together. And just being in this state is itself a communication. But a communication that's not of the mind or of emotions. It's one of just being. Just being, and even just being is varied. Throughout the day, it would vary a little bit. But once you get into the bliss body, you'll never, ever go back to being a plumber alone.
Thank you.
How many here feel they've experienced some bliss today? Or a sense of being that's separate from the body? Okay, thank you. Karima didn't raise her hand, so she raised her hand. Now, isn't this state with no thinking really delightful? And it's not even the final state. The final state is ineffable. Ineffable. There's no F in. Can you picture your own light body, subtle body inside? Can you see it with your inner eye? Can you feel your body at a deeper level than you could, let's say, 5 years ago? Where you would actually inhabit your entire body. Like I feel utterly glued inside this body, but I'm not of it. It's like my theater. And the theater may grow and get smaller, get colder or hotter, but it has nothing to do with me. And the mind really has nothing to do with me either. But we go around it backwards, trying to quiet the mind in order to get it to the state. It doesn't work that way very well. With me, when I started, I jumped in full measure, quit my job. I think I was working in the library system at Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland. And I went home. And I just meditated until one day I felt a calling to go to New York. I forget the name of the city in New York. where there was a Zen master who had an ashram, although they don't call it ashrams in Zen. And I met the guy, his name, he wrote the 3 Pillars of Zen, Keplo. Phil Keplo. And got to see how they practiced there. And their meditation practice was very aggressive. People were huffing and puffing, trying to get enlightenment. A waste of time. But that city where the ashram was is so beautiful. Around the center that I can imagine just wanting to be there my entire life because of the atmosphere, the sense of presence that everything seems to have for its own self. In that area, it's as if the world rested in that place, that ashram, and the surrounding areas. If you want to practice outside of these talks, and if the chanting affects you in any way, positively, I should say, load up a dozen of your favorite chants and go for a walk, listening to the chants. And soon you'll get into the same meditative state that you got into when you were at home, sitting in your own Zen room, meditating. And it's quite a unique experience to be both absolutely still and yet walking rapidly down the street. Yeah, I've got a question for you as a group, but most specifically, the person that calls him or herself prodigal scapegoat. How the hell did one give oneself that name? Prodigal. Will you illuminate us, or are you going to disappear? He or she is going to do nothing. I don't know how you feel now. But I feel delicious. I hate the fact I have to keep talking to you about these states, but you may not know about them unless I speak about them as I'm passing through them. It took me a long time to start having spiritual experiences after I started meditation. In fact, everything got quieter and quieter and quieter. But that quiet precedes the explosion that you experience later of joy, happiness, and just a feeling of intensity and of commitment. And also a dying of the wish to do anything. Become the nothing man, good for nothing man. I guess I thought it was important to give you a sense of encouragement, because I noticed my first few years of meditation really didn't have much of a result. Doing nothing felt just as crappy as doing too much. You have to get subtle. You have to know the still body, what it feels like from all different aspects of your body. That's why you sit and you feel your body. You feel your feet, your knees, your buttocks, your chest. Every time you sit, you feel those things. But then after that, any new stuff that comes to you will only leave you feeling more silent and deeper and relaxed and happy. You become more really a person that's incarnated into the flesh. So you no longer are at the beckoning of anything going on in the world that you used to chase after, whether it was recognition, grades, money, whatever. That's all gone. And all you want to do is nothing and be at rest in yourself. But after a while, that gets old and you want to return to the external world. But after a while, they sort of integrate. And it's easier to pass from one state to another state. It's instantaneous almost. I noticed a phenomena a few minutes ago. Mark was on the left column on my computer, and now he's moved to the top of the right column. How did you do that?
I'm surprised you noticed. I have multitudes.
Is Mike Michael or not? What's Michael's last name, Karima? What? Kajawa. Is that Mike Kajawa? Okay. I can't read it's too small. I can't read it, but the scapegoat is sleeping. a message. I guess it'll be in the message box now. Let's take a look at it and somebody read it to me because it's too small for me to see.
Yeah, Mike says, I don't have a microphone, but I'm not the Michael being asked about.
Okay.
Gee, I just wanted to say that when you said that being out in the world and being deep in within beingness, and after a while they integrate together, and that brings to mind what they say in Mahayana Buddhism, which is that samsara and nirvana are the same.
Yeah, they are. And it just seems so impossible. But it's not. But can anybody read what's said there, the messages on your computer? Sarah moves more quickly than anybody else. Sarah used to be in the place that Mark is now, but she moved down in the world and to the left. She's become a socialist.
There is a question from Irai, I think it's here, Hirai Jong. There's a question. The mic is not working, so I'm going to repeat the question, Edgy, that is given in the comments.
Okay.
Once you become enlightened, is anything classified or forbidden from sharing with the unenlightened? It seems that some answers are never ever given in public.
That's how he started. That was the sentences that we started satsang with. There's no secret knowledge, no. It's just that a lot of things that an enlightened person would say would not be understandable by the average person because they don't have the experiences that he's had, nor are those experiences easy to obtain for the unenlightened. The first thing that goes in spiritual practice is the drive to understand things. And instead, you're shooting for doing nothing. Because the nothingness state seems to contain everything, including the visible human state as a very small part of one's own self. Nothingness. Nothingness is overwhelming. The light of consciousness is much more restricted. But there's nothing in the ideas one has about any of these places that has to be hidden. It's just that one would take that position just so that a person didn't get too confused with all the different things and steps and understandings that vary depending on your level of development. So if everybody is on a different level, it makes for a cacophony or major shit, I should say. But if we were all enlightened and sitting on the same level, there'd be nothing to do. And also, that bliss state is not the final step because it's still a very intense experience within the vastness that is humanity and the human experiences. But you sort of relax too, because no matter how bad the situation is now for you, like listening to me in satsang, it quickly passes. And you can get upset with somebody else in 5 minutes. My joke went flat, I think. Any final questions? There must be some pent up in you. Okay. I would suggest that you take 5 minutes off after satsang and then go back into satsang and just sit with whoever comes back. Take a few hours if you want of doing sitting in silence. Anyway, thank you very much for coming. Take care of yourself. I love you all. Take care. Bye.